a Brannon House television network.
The Tamara Scott Show. Tamara has served as the state director for one of America's largest pro-life, pro-family public policy organizations. In 2007, Tamara was named one of America's top 10 most influential kingmakers by the Religion News Association. Tamara has spent years proclaiming and defending the values of a Christian worldview that is the foundation of our constitutional republic. And now, here is your host, Tamara Scott.
Hey everybody, welcome. I am Tamara Scott with the Tamara Scott Show, helping you live God's Word in today's world when the headlines hit home. Why? Because if you expect to live through it, He's directed you how to do it somewhere in His Word. I am multitasking, which apparently I don't do so easily anymore, and they really say you really shouldn't anymore. I think I'm hearing that more and more. We really shouldn't. So I'm sending this to you, Thomas, our producer. Again, I just sent you a different link, and hopefully that one will work. All right, everybody, we thank you for joining us on this show. And I'm serious about trying to help you with the headlines with God's Word, when the headlines hit home. If He's expectual, He's directed you how to do it. And so I don't want you to be in a panic. I don't want you to be distracted. I feel like some days all I'm doing is like a gerbil going through the habit trail. If you ever had a gerbil cage when you were a kid, that those little plastic tunnels and that little gerbils would just go all over to the little wheel and spin. And it was very, very fun until you had to clean it. It was quite a mess to clean. But sometimes I feel like that, right? We're just hitting this deadline. We're hitting this schedule. We're hitting this appointment. I'm getting this deadline met. And it's always in the nick of time. I will tell you, God is so fun. Today is witness on how He fills it in without my stress. He fills it in. If I'm doing my work, I'm on my timeline and He comes in and just in the nick of time every time. We'll talk about that a little bit later in the show. But I just want you not to be stressed. I want you to focus on what God has for you, a plan and a purpose that was there when you were created. And it doesn't change because of the headlines. And so keep your faith on Him. Don't be distracted. Choose your destiny through what you read in the Word. Let Him direct you and establish the work of your hands, not what the media, the politicians, the latest panic, the latest scare would tell you you have to do. Stay focused on the direction God gives you. Prepare, pre-prayer, plan, have things in place for your family. Safety-wise, be thinking ahead in case of an emergency, but don't let it dictate your day when you have a destiny God designed for you waiting. Kind of like that. Don't let distractions dictate your day when you have a destiny God designed for you waiting. I'm going to have to try to remember that afterwards. All right. I want to get to some of the headlines. We've had really great shows. And if you want to follow our shows, we appreciate those of you who come along live. I always have fun having you watch live on wvwtv.com at noon Central Time every weekday. But for those of you who say, I watch it in the car, I don't know how you do all that, but I'm thrilled that you do. Some of you watch it on Rumble. Some of you watch it on YouTube. You can get all of our shows at the vault on worldviewtube.com, worldviewtube.com/vault. Now there is a subscription free. It's very reasonable, and you don't just get our incredible guest. You get every show on this network and Brannon House's incredible personal library. All of the books the speeches he's given, the presentations, the documentaries he's done, the shows and the guests he's done. So that's at worldviewtube.com. Then Thomas is doing very well to try and get our shows. This is a lot of shows, and it takes some time to download them to the YouTube. We now have a YouTube, and Thomas, if you want to put that YouTube up, it's Worldview Tube TV, I think, Worldview Tube TV on YouTube. There you go, Worldview Tube. It's just Worldview Tube. There you go, on YouTube. And so Thomas, like the show with Nick Owens that we did this week, if we could get that one up on YouTube, we have people asking for that one. Anything on the data centers, people want that. And I just had a request for the Tom DeWeese show on CO2 pipelines, and that would be some time ago. We'll have to see if we can get some of those archives back up there, but first get some of these current shows up there. So Tuesday we had Nick Owens on data centers, incredible information. He's an attorney out of Ohio. And on Wednesday we had Dennis Viren, one of our best friends, one of our friends of liberty, friends of this show. Good to come on. Always interesting information. And then today, as God designed it. My guest today, our God designed. When I went to bed last night at 12 midnight, I didn't have a guest. When I woke up this morning, I still didn't have a guest, but I did have peace. And in a meeting at 7 a.m., a gentleman comes into my meeting and I say, hey, you want to join me and talk about these couple of issues? And he kindly said yes. And then he said, do you know this individual? Would you like to interview him on his book? And I went, yes, I would. Within 15 minutes, I had a guest for the second part of this show joining us from Israel. Is God fun or what? Bigger than I could imagine, better than I could have planned. I love it when we turn things over to him. All right, so I want to get through a couple things here first, and I'm trying to watch my time to make sure I can do it. Yesterday, we were talking about the Carmelo Anthony murder trial. It's tragic all the way around, no matter how you look at it. Bad decisions were made, and apparently this athlete walked into the tent of an opposing team, tried to harass some people. He could have just stayed out of the tent. Tried to harass some people, and one young man stood up for his team, asked the man to leave, is what we've been told, asked the 17-year-old to leave. And you can say whatever happened, someone pushed, whatever. But apparently, Carmelo Anthony pulled out a knife, to Dennis's point, who, as an athlete, carries a knife on their person, especially when you're in track and you need lightweight, you need to move quickly. Stabbed, thank you so much. You're so good, Thomas. There's the photos. So stabbed the young man in the heart area, and he died within minutes in the arms of his coach in front of his teammates. Tragically horrible. The young man on my screen on the left is now been convicted of murder. So he's looking at the next, I think, 35 or 36 years in prison now. If you could say 17 will be served and out in 17, I don't know. Someone else said that's about perfect. It'll be a year for every year of life of the man, as young man he took, whose life he took. But here's what I want to bring it back up. It's tragic all the way around. But when it came out, Dennis was talking about, people were saying that he shouldn't have been tried, or that it was unfair, that it's unjust, that it's racist. I don't think the jury would have cared anything about color. And on the jury, one of the articles I read said that there were several different ethnicities on the jury trial, a mix of white, Asian, and Hispanic, just not a Black member. So again, justice is to be blind. And I think if you would have had someone behind a curtain, I think on the case here and several witnesses, you would have had a guilty verdict. But I want to come to, and thank you for putting that up. So you've got the Twitchy where all the comments are coming in about just being unfair and being racist. We've got to get past, we've got to stand for justice. The young man whose life was taken deserved justice. His twin brother, who will now miss him every birthday, who said he was going to be the godfather to my children. We were going to do this together. There has to be just punishment. There does. All right, but I want to go past this. Then we learned yesterday that this is from a Facebook user. Carmelo's mom cried in court about injustice in his sentence, but let's be honest, his family set up a GoFundMe account for his legal representation, raised $630,000, yet Carmelo had a public defender, she's asking. Where did the money go? It went to buy his mother a $600,000 home? Question mark. Yes, that's what this is being reported. Carmelo's mom did not give, and I won't put her language in here, enough for him to use the money for his defense. It was $630,000 for his defense. She used it to buy herself a new home. I don't have proof of this, but if you see the article right there that Thomas has up, it's a New York Post, I believe it is, fairly reputable. And it says, now that he's been convicted of murder, a controversial online fundraiser for Carmelo Anthony has been shut down after the family raised $630,000 for legal and living expenses. But his family may still be able to set up a new account. And so this is Give, Send, Go, not GoFundMe, as was said in the other post. The crowdsourcing platform platform differs from GoFundMe in that it allows fundraisers for criminal cases confirmed the fundraiser closure in a statement is in a statement to the post. So GiveSendGo is a crowd sourcing platform that differs from GoFundMe. All right. But it says the donations are unclear if Anthony and his family will receive the cash. The GiveSendGo typically makes fundraiser payouts 3 days after a donation is made. GiveSendGo has fundraisers that promote, bars fundraisers that promote violence, illegal activities, and don't provide an adequate explanation of where the funds will go. This might be that case. It says we can't comment on the specifics of them at the moment, at the movement of the funds, just that they will be dispersed in accordance with the typical procedure. That's from GiveSendGo CEO Jacob Wells told the Post. The family will be able to set up a new campaign if they desire, as long as it aligns with the terms of service. So interesting. Anthony's jury, we talked about the mix, but also the controversy after claims arose that his family was using it to buy a new house. GiveSendGo disputed the claims in a statement that clarified that no funds had even been paid out by the time those reports. Doesn't mean that something hadn't been purchased. Doesn't mean that some news hadn't come out somewhere else about the intent. So it also says, the article says, hosting a campaign has never been an endorsement of a person or their actions or their legal arguments or their public statements. It is not a declaration of innocence, and it has not a political statement. GiveSendGo provides access to lawful fundraising, which we extend across the full spectrum of cases. It added, our hearts are with Austin's family. He was the young man who was killed, his twin brother, and everyone grieving the loss that no verdict can undo. So there you go. But Dennis brought this to us yesterday, and then I saw that post about it going to a family. And it does say helping with living expenses, but here's my question. The young man was in high school. Maybe he helped with living expenses, but if there's a family there, weren't they already providing for themselves? I feel like it should go for his defense, but I'm curious why it's going for living expenses of the family, unless he was helping a single mom out like many young men do, and it's honorable to do that. I don't know. Just a lot of questions here. I just thought I would bring that up to all of you. All right, so I want to also get to our next guest as well. So I'm not going to go over here, but we've got a couple of other things we're going to talk about today, like Tennessee declaring June Traditional Family Month. And that doesn't stop there. Missouri made a resolution last week, apparently, in their, and it was a party or a convention. And then Arkansas has apparently done this as well. So we'll be right after this break. We'll talk with the executive director for the Illinois Illinois Family Center, and we'll talk about these issues. I think it's a welcome change for many across America. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. The Tamara Scott Show.
I need to tell you about our Bella Grace. The slender little sachet has the elixir with the collagen, astaxanthin, and cat's claw. In 2022, got an award for helping with cognitive function, and in 2023, in the sports arena for active ingredients, nutrition, and format. But the best is what we hear from so many of you. You have noticed better joint health, improved mobility, less eye strain and fatigue, helping with computer vision syndrome, visual acuity, depth perception, alleviating dry eyes, but also helping with your immunity, your stress management, endurance, less fatigue overall, not just eye fatigue, muscle recovery, mental clarity, focus, and gut health. Then there's the fun list. The firmer, smoother skin texture, fewer fine lines and wrinkles, improved skin elasticity, decreased age spots, more even skin tone, improved skin hydration, reduced oxidative stress, healthier nails, less cellulite, hair health, better sleep. Who wouldn't want any of those? Call them beauty in items if you wish, but who doesn't want to feel a little bit better or more confident when you're going to present in the public square, when you're going to speak at a city council? And who just doesn't want to feel a little healthier? Maybe they're just byproducts of being healthier. More information at tamara.bellagraceglobal.com, tamara.bellagraceglobal.com.
Guest. You may see him on the screen shortly. His name is David Smith. He is with the Illinois Family Institute. I keep wanting to say Policy Institute, Illinois Family Institute. For almost 35 years, he has been in public policy, grassroots activism that includes countless interviews, numerous radio, television, cable programs, newspaper articles on topics such as sanctity of life, natural marriage, broadcast decency, sex education, marijuana, gambling, abortion, homosexuality, tax policy, drug decriminalization, and pornography. You and I could go to dinner because I deal with so much of this stuff, and you go out to eat with friends, or you go to a Christmas party. And one time I finally said to my husband, I used to love Christmas parties, and I do love Christmas. But when you go to events like that, I said, you watch, somebody's going to ask me a question. I'm not supposed to talk about politics or religion. Somebody's going to ask me, and when I give them the answer they don't like, then they're going to be offended. And then I shouldn't be talking about it at a party. I won't bring it up. I won't have to. And he saw it time and again. Does that happen to you?
It happens, yeah, unfortunately, but that's okay. I'm not going to be ashamed. I may cut it short if they're not interested, but people need to hear the truth. They need to hear it.
Absolutely. And so I've never had a poker face, and I am learning restraint, and that I don't have to share everything I know and
Yeah.
before swine. But yeah, I'm not going to hold back either when somebody asks. And so anyway, thanks for joining me today, David.
Yes, I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
So I told our viewers, I did not have a guest when I went to bed last night, got up this morning, and yet I had peace. I just had a peace. You came into a meeting that I was in at 7 a.m. this morning, and you were my victim right away.
Yeah.
Lord,
No.
there it is. We were talking about and we'll talk about it, the Tennessee declaring,
Yes.
and
Yes.
I think it was a bill, and the governor signed it, June
Yeah.
as Traditional Family Month. And so you're perfect to talk about this. So thank you.
I am so thrilled that we're taking this back. Actually, if you remember a few years ago, Professor Robbie George
Yes.
introduced June as Fidelity Month. And so we've kind of adopted that at Illinois Family Institute as our thing. So if you go to our social media pages and such, you will see Fidelity Month. But there's been a whole bunch of different ones in different states. Oklahoma is another one. I'm blanking on some of the others. The Fidelity Month, Nuclear Family.
Let me help you. Arkansas, because I found just today, this was USA Today, June 4th, 2025. Arkansas Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders took a related but distinct approach, declaring Fidelity Month. So she's declaring the Fidelity Month.
Yes.
And we heard this morning about Missouri, whether it was their
Yes.
party or the elected officials, they declared a family month.
And Governor Braun from Indiana is also pushing it. So we've got Nuclear Family Month, Strong Families Month, Marriage and Family Month. Now, here's my one little concern about this. Conservatives, why do we have to be scattered cats all the time? Can we all get on the same page and message like the left wing does? They have Pride Month. Let's fix this. Let's go with Fidelity Month, whatever. That's okay. Even Illinois Congresswoman Mary Miller, she's from Central Illinois, one of 3 Republicans from the state of Illinois, has introduced a resolution, I should say, designating June as Family Month. So Tamara, I am so grateful that there are conservatives who are willing to push back and fight back a little bit on the narrative that the left keeps pushing on us. And I have to tell you, I think it's due in large part to Trump not backing down and having a fighting spirit. I think that's attractive. We need leaders who are bold and not squishy. Leaders that have backbones. How about that? And will stand for what they believe in.
And I also think the tide is turning.
Yes.
People are tiring. We've seen you will never appease the other side.
Nope.
And it becomes even more about perversion and mutilation and just destroying anything good that God has created.
You know,
And
in the Gallup poll that was just recently released said that gay marriage acceptance has actually fallen a few points. So you know, that's good news. It's still like ridiculously high at like 61%, but it was at like 67% for a while there. But it has dropped. And you know, people need to understand and have their eyes open that, you know, intentionally redefining God's institution of marriage, and denying intentionally children either a mother or a father in the home is just plain wrong.
right, it's one thing when there's a death or when there is a separation and people
That's
can
right.
make it work. But to start a child out, I can't think of anything really more hateful, cruel, or selfish than to start a child out and robbing them of a biological parent that
And
would
you know what? As a father, I can tell you, I understand that two mothers probably could love a child, but they
absolutely,
can never replace a father.
absolutely. We've seen this in our home. My
Yep.
husband has assured me when the kids are with him, things are different than when they're with me. It's true. It's
That's
very,
right.
very true. And
That's
so
right.
the thing I liked about the Tennessee one is that it kind of just said that it defines a nuclear family consisting of a husband, a wife, any biological, adopted, or fostered children, saying such a family is God's design familial structure and has been the bedrock of society since the creation of the world.
Amen.
We're not
That's
putting
right.
people in classes there. They're accepting that there are things that happen for whatever reason. And God, I think, gave us, as people say, kind of the model Joseph as Jesus' father, loved him
Amen.
and cared for him.
That's good.
All right. Anything else on this note?
Nope, that's good.
I love the discussion. Thank you very much for popping in on me with me on this today. All right, so I want to come back. I've got to find it. Thomas, you can find it quicker than I can. The church, let's see, the church,
Yep.
the Presbyterian Church.
Church.
Thomas, I think that is link. Help me out. I think it is the link. All right, so it's, I think the first one is a Facebook post. It's 2D, it's a Facebook post. And the Presbyterian Church now faces a revolt after proposing that clergy must be monogamous in relationship. The critics are blaming white privilege. Now, there isn't a 2E, Thomas, a 2E is the article on it. I don't think it's a video. I think it's an article. If you can go to the 2E link. All right, so.
Yeah. That's a New York Post article that at least you sent me that link. And it's so interesting. They don't start with what the Apostle Paul says twice, 1 Timothy 3 and in Titus chapter 1, where he says, look, if you're going to be an overseer, a deacon, a pastor, an elder, a bishop, whatever those titles, and they're kind of interchangeable, not totally, but you know, but you must be, first thing they say, above reproach, the husband of one wife, temperate, prudent, respectful, hospitable, able to teach, not addicted to wine or pugnacious, but gentle, peaceable, free from the love of money. So they're objecting to the qualification that the Apostle Paul put out for the church of having to be the husband of one wife. How ludicrous. How absolutely ludicrous. The whole idea is that you have to be above reproach. You have to lead. You have to be so committed to your wife and to your covenant marriage, right? That you are an example of what the church is. As a pastor or an elder, you are representing Christ and his church. And by the way, Jesus is the groom. You know, the ultimate big picture here is Jesus is the groom, the church is the bride. He doesn't have two brides. He has one bride, and it's the church, we, the Christians.
So it's okay, just okay. It doesn't even go into LGBTQ or same sex or sexual
No.
orientation or anything else. It just says one other, just you
Yeah.
and one other. And the fact that that's an issue, I don't even know this denomination. I don't know where they're at on same-sex marriage or anything else.
Oh, they're terrible. They're
I
terrible.
assume they support it.
USA, Presbyterian USA. Yeah.
Thank you, thank you. So I would assume that they're okay with whatever relationship. But their problem is that it's just one, that you can't
Yeah.
even make a vow and commit a vow to one.
That's right. No, it's pretty sad. And their goal is to whittle it down altogether and redefine it and all that. I mean, this is the cultural. Oh, that was Paul's culture back then. It doesn't matter what it is today. No, the standard. God doesn't change. His standards doesn't change. His expectations and his call for us to be holy and set aside from the rest of the world is still the same.
It doesn't even say they have to be married.
No.
The rule submitted by Sierra Blanca Presbytery states that the PCUSA pastors must display moral character. And if engaged, there's an idea. And if engaged in any relationship of sexual nature, living in a monogamous one.
Well, the moral character, the whole idea of display moral character, who's defining that? Their liberal worldview is so very different than a biblical worldview. That's the problem.
The rule asks that the church develop pastoral resources to help people leaving polyamorous and polygamous. I know polyamorous because I did an interview on this back in 2011 or 12. I think it was a Boston newspaper that talked about it. And boy, you would have thought the people at PBS thought I was off my rocker. But I was warning about it.
Well, just think about what that means. Poly, many. Amorous, which is loves, many lovers. Really? Is that what God calls us to?
So what's the POLYGAMOUS?
I'm not sure.
It's just polygamous. It's just
polygamous. Yeah, multiple wives, I guess, multiple spouses.
I'm putting the emphasis on the wrong syllable.
I guess Mormons. I don't know.
Polygamous. I don't know. I mean, they're coming after everybody. So apparently, they just want their pastors just to. This is frightening.
Yeah.
As you say, define a moral character.
That's right. And what they're doing is they're lowering the bar. That's not what we're called to. God calls us to a much higher standard and to be set aside from this world and its ways. And yet the PCUSA here is saying, no, we've got to water it all down so we're more accepted by the culture. And that's why mainline churches and denominations are failing. It's sad.
And Rob McCoy, pastor to Charlie Kirk, a friend, he was with me in studio about 2 months ago, and he said,
"Oh, nice.
The 18 to 25-year-olds, they're looking for structure.
That's right.
They're looking for teaching and truth.
That's
and
right.
So my heartbreak is the churches that have it on their stained glass windows and still have the Bibles in the pews, because the evangelicals ones don't.
Yep.
But they're not teaching the Bible that's in their pew. So friends, you've got to be teaching it to your family. You've got to hold the standard in your family. I don't know, those 10 commandments: do not covet, do not lust.
Yep.
Pretty clear.
That's right. Amen.
David,
Amen.
closing remarks?
No, that's it. We're called to a much higher standard, and I would agree with you. Parents need to take charge and instill these truths into our children. Grandparents, by the way, I'm one now. And yes, and number 2 is on its way sometime this month. But we've got to help our children also disciple our grandchildren, because if they have a biblical worldview, they're not going to be as likely to fall into those potholes and snares set out by our adversary.
Yes, teach them to defend the word, not just to defend it.
That's right.
Congratulations on your grand blessing.
Yay.
There is nothing better than grand blessings.
Yep. Well, there you go.
Love them. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us, and thanks for lining up our next guest. I'll explain that to viewers on the next segment, but thank you so much for your hand in that God-designed day for today. Blessings at
God bless.
Illinois Family Institute.
Thank you.
There on Israel. We've all sensed it. We've all felt it. Stay tuned.
Do you like drinking toxins that could cause cancer, inflammation, and all kinds of other autoimmune diseases? Of course you don't. Well, much of our water in America is full of toxins. That's a proven fact. Worldviewwater.net. Worldviewwater.net is your solution so that you can drink good, clean water. In fact, I give it to all my 3 fur babies, all my 3 dogs. I have one under my kitchen sink, one of these filters, as well as on my shower. Worldviewwater.net.
This is our new NutraSwish, Numi NutraSwish. You can find more information at Numi, neumi.com/TTSS, neumi.com/TTSS. One of the products we offer because you all have different preferences and respond differently to different items. So this is our lavender. It's for ladies anywhere along your journey. No hormones in it, but if you're taking a hormonal supplement, you might want to check with your doctor. The blue is for anyone over the age of 18. It has glutathione, which is a antioxidant, helps with over 400 cellular functions, and it helps detox heavy metals, forever chemicals, graphene oxide, one of those terms we learned after 2020, and it helps detox glyphosate. The good glutathione helps detox glyphosate. Glyphosate is found in ag chemicals or lawn chemicals, and some are very concerned about possible links to cancers, HPVs, and diabetes. But the blue bottle, the glutathione, helps detox heavy metals, forever chemicals, graphene oxide, and glyphosate. Then there's the mango-colored bottle you see on your screen. Numi Neuro helps with your mind, your memory, and your focus. Now, again, after 2020, we heard something about brain fog, a term we'd not heard before. Whether it's from a virus or a vaccine, many have found relief, a little help with Numi Neuro, the mango-colored bottle. When used with the blue bottle, it is so positive that the American Brain Council wrote about it and it looked like an endorsement. Though we're told they don't write endorsements, it was simply a positive review of what they saw. You can find more information at Numi, neumi.com/TTSS, neumi.com/TTSS for the Tamara Scott Show. Why? Because we want you feeling your best. And when you use that TTSS link, you help us be our best.
Hey everybody, thank you for staying with us. The Tamara Scott Show, where we help you live God's word in today's world when the headlines hit home. As I told you in the first segment, when I went to bed last night, I did not have a guest. When I got up this morning, I did not have a guest, and yet I slept soundly. That's not always the case, but it was today. I just had a peace. Went to my meeting at 7 a.m. and on the screen, it was a Zoom, and on the screen was David Smith. And I knew I wanted to talk about this Presbyterian church situation. So I texted him and said, would you join me? He kindly said yes, which is a miracle in itself that he could join me today. But then he texted me and said, hey, would you be interested in interviewing Pastor Scudder? Well, absolutely. On Israel, on spiritual warfare in Israel. Absolutely. As you know, as viewers on the show, we have Nicole Jansesian come on every couple of weeks and give us an update of what's happening over there. And we've all felt the spiritual warfare. We've all felt that there's just this growing animosity and hostility towards Israel. And so I'm so excited to talk to our guest today and hear his standpoint on it, his viewpoint on it. But let me tell you, when David sent me that text, I sent it to a friend and I said, is this the Scudder family I have heard you talk about for years? He said, yes, it is. And his sister works for this ministry. And within 10 minutes, bless Pastor Scudder's heart, he responded and said, yes, I will do your show. How humble, how kind to be so prompt in a response and so available. So Pastor Scudder, one, we thank you for coming on with us today on the Tamara Scott Show.
Hey, Tamara. It's a pleasure for me to be on with you. So great to meet you, and it's neat to know common people that know Christ and are serving him. So we are in Israel. We're in Jerusalem right now. We were just at an event that Ambassador Huckabee was speaking at, and I'll be interviewing him tomorrow for our TV show on In Grace. So we're excited about everything that's happening here as well.
I don't know if he'd remember me. I think he will. Give him a hello for me.
I will. He has a great memory.
He does. And he was also very good to endorse Brad Sherman, one of our candidates for legislature not too long ago. He can't do it now because he's an ambassador, but
Yeah.
and Brad had great success in that race and just ran for governor, by the way. So we love Huckabee in Iowa. We love Huckabee. We just talked about Sarah Sanders Huckabee and the great work she's doing in Arkansas as well. So I'm so glad you're going to get to be there and talk with him. All right. So let's tell our viewers, you have your ministry. You are the senior pastor of Clinton Road Baptist Church in Lake Zurich, Illinois, president of Day Spring Bible College Seminary in, I don't know the name of this town, Mundelein?
It's Mundelein is where the seminary is currently.
Okay. And you pastored a church in the western suburbs of Chicago for 5 years, co-pastored with your father, who I never met your father, but I heard incredible things about your father from Pastor
Thank you.
McCoy. So you're the founder of Clinton Road for 10 years, after Dr. Scudder Senior retired. And in 2016, you assumed the senior pastor position. So thank you for that. Let's talk about your book, The Spiritual War Against Israel. When did you start writing these?
Well, the thoughts were a couple years in my mind, and I had someone that works on our staff. He's a colleague. He's the vice president of Day Spring Bible College and Seminary, where I serve as president. And he's a historian, and he's been really fed up with all of the misinformation, especially where it's starting to come from people that I respect, and they're saying some pretty nasty things about Israel. And so we decided to team up. He's a historian, so he really could focus in on the history of Jew hatred, anti-Semitism. He covers all of these false things like the Khazar theory and things like that. And I laid out the miracle of Israel, the recent history of Israel, and also the biblical position. Like how do we arrive at the doctrine of supporting Israel? And I think it's so far been a really good combination. We've just released the book a few days ago, and we're getting a lot of interest on it because I think Christians want to know, Americans want to know, how should we think about Israel? And are these people that we had respect for, are they right, or are they somehow off? And maybe the other question is, why are they off?
Right. Well, we all, like you say, we sense it, we hear it like we've never heard it before. And so, all right, so take us through part of this. And I'm trying to pull up the book on my screen. Thomas, if you want to go to the index of the book, one of your titles, of course, caught me right away. I obviously haven't had time to read the whole book. It's a beautiful cover, by the way. But one of the titles was about, I think you called it the Putinans. What tell me about that title, that chapter?
Yeah, so that was my co-author, Phil Stringer. He, and maybe it's a term out there, Putinistas, and phony neoconservatives, phony conservatives. And, he's referencing those that seem to be really changing their tune on Israel. And he feels like there's something undercurrent that's made them do that. Of course, his theory is that it's a transactional thing. Where you have Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, and others that are really bashing Israel. And it really concerns us because they are, they were at least very important voices in conservatism, but then they're starting to spew this just really awful stuff. And it's not true. It's not biblical. It's not Christian. And so we decided we need to address this. And so there's a whole chapter about that, addressing what are they saying and why are they saying it?
All right. What do you want our viewers to know about this book?
Well, so I think what we need to do is approach everything in life from a biblical perspective. And so that's what the book sets out to do. What does the Bible say about Israel? Is Israel today? Here's the real question. And by the way, Tamara, right, is how you pronounce your name. That's
Tamara.
how,
yeah.
Tamara. Okay. Yep. That's how you would pronounce it here in Israel. Or they might say tomorrow, but either way, it's I don't know. It's a beautiful name that reminds me of a Hebrew name. So, anyways, is Israel today of God or man? And that's really the question, because some people are saying modern Israel is nothing more than man's attempt at restoring or meeting what God said would happen and all of that. So that's really the question. Is it God doing this, or is it man's manipulation and man's influence and man's money? And that's what the Jewish people, that's the lie about the Jewish people for centuries, is they're controlling, they have all the money, and they have the power. But I disagree with that. And I think the more Jewish people you know, the more you come to Israel, the more you realize that that is not true. And it's the same old lie. It's these libels that have been against the Jews for centuries. So we have a whole chapter pointing out those libels, and there's new ones. Like even recently, the New York Times published another libel against the Jews, unsubstantiated. I'm not even going to repeat what they said, because that stokes the fire. And if we think that it couldn't happen again, meaning like the Holocaust in Nazi Germany, it can, and it's actually happening. I've been talking to Jewish people, and they're afraid. People are pelting them. They're spitting on them. They're in England, they're hitting, they're hurting them. So this is a real issue, and it's affecting people that I respect. It's affecting Christians. We need to think biblically. So how do we do that? Well, let's just open up the Bible. When we get to Genesis 12, we hear a promise from God. It doesn't say, Abraham, if you do this and this and this, I'll do this. That's not what the promise was. The promise was, Abraham, I'm going to do this. I'm going to, bless you. I'm going to make your descendants a blessing. You're going to be blessed the whole world. And of course, we know that that was fulfilled through Jesus, Yeshua, who comes from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Anyone that's anti-Semitic or anti-Jew in any way, and I think anti-Zionism and anti-Israel is anti-Semitism and anti-Jew, we must be forgetting that our Messiah is a Jewish rabbi with a Abba and an Imma, with 12 Jewish disciples that kept the law in all points because we couldn't. We read a book that's Jewish. Like, for all eternity, you're going to be worshiping a Jew, and you're going to be opposing his family. I'm very upset about all of this and what's happening in our world. And we just said, you know what, we're going to write a book. It's called The Spiritual War Against Israel. And it's spiritual. And I think that's the point we were trying to make, is you can't explain all of this by normal happenstance. This is the undercurrent against Israel and the Jewish people is a satanic undercurrent. It's a demonic undercurrent. And so we want to point that out in the book too, and then give people answers like, how do I defend the Jewish people? What can I do? And we have a whole chapter at the end that's about what can you do as an American to do something tangible. And I don't even think like doing this is going to help save the Jewish people. I think they're fine because God's given them promises. And I want to share my Savior and what I know about Jesus. Most Jewish people I've met don't know anything about him. So just being friends with them, you're getting these wonderful opportunities to share Yeshua and all of that. But God has given them promises. The dry bones have regathered in Ezekiel. Every prophet says they're going to be dispersed and they're going to be regathered. And here they are. They're here right now in Jerusalem. We just had dinner at a little restaurant down the street, and Jewish families all around with kids, and Jewish life is here, and it's a miracle that it's here. So I think we have to recognize all this as of God, and let's line ourselves up with God, and let's be a blessing. And the blessing actually comes back on us, because I believe the blessing of Genesis 12:3.
Thank you so much. I'm talking with Pastor Jim Scudder. He has the book, The Spiritual War on Israel. It's a beautiful book cover. Is it available now?
It is.
Okay.
So it was just released, but it is now available. I think the easiest way to get it is our website. So we have a ministry called In Grace. I'm a pastor at Quinton Road Baptist Church in Lake Zurich, Illinois, but we have a broadcast ministry. So every Saturday we're on TBN, the largest Christian channel. We make an apologetics meets adventure TV show. And so we have the book available on the In Grace website, which is ingrace.tv. And it's also on Amazon, and there's a Kindle edition on Amazon as well.
Sounds like something great for kids to possibly watch on Saturdays as well on TBN. We've got to go to our first break. We'll be right back. Actually, our third break, but you and I's first break. We'll be right back. When we come back, Pastor Scudder, I'm going to ask you, for everything happening in the Middle East, there's so much happening, and no one is perfect. No human is perfect. some of the things that come out of the government, some of the things that a governmental leader may say. Is it okay if people disagree with something they do? When I was in Israel years ago, they were funding abortion through the government. And I would say to them, how can you do this and expect God's blessing? And I would try to talk to them about this. It doesn't mean I'm anti-Israel. It doesn't mean it was an anti-Semitic conversation. But there are those today that are worried that if they even question or have a concern about something in government, that they will be called anti-Semitic. So I'm going to ask you about that when we come back from break, if that's okay. Right next.
Yep.
Tune everyone. Is that okay to talk about?
3 years ago, the United States was stunned by an announcement from war-torn Korea. U.S. Army Private David Hawkins and 20 other prisoners of the communists had become turncoats. They had renounced their own country and disappeared behind Red China's bamboo curtain.
What had you heard? Well, only what our Chinese captors had told us, how great they were working toward socialism, the great stride that they were taking, bettering the life of the Chinese people who for so many thousands of years had lived a life of oppression under various governments.
You're watching Worldview 2, built on the 35 years of Worldview books, documentaries, research, high-profile interviews, and the radio and television broadcasts of Brannon House.
And as you know, on this show, we offer you a variety of products. One, because we want you feeling your best. Everyone responds differently. You have different preferences to the ingredients and to the types of supplements that you want to take. This is source. It's from frequence.com/Tamara Scott. Frequence.com/Tamara Scott. This just helps get the minerals, the trace minerals, back into your diet that may be missing, even if you're growing your own food. The lack in the soil may be missing. And tomorrow, I would tell you, tomorrow we've got a little bit on Father's Day coming up as we're preparing for Father's Day in a week. But also, one of the gentlemen in the company is going to come and talk to us about several of these products as well that I think some of you may like as we head into the summer months and our skincare and etc. But these are all natural from this company. So we'll be talking to him tomorrow on our Friday show. All right. So I told you the question before we went to break, Pastor Scudder. We understand there is anti-Semitism out there, and we don't want to see it. On our college campuses, we do see it. We see it blatantly. I had a Palestinian reporter one time in Israel tell me, I feel safer in Israel than I feel on American soil on a U.S. campus. If I'm going to talk
That's
about
true.
it.
Yeah. So here's the answer to the question. And the question is a good question, and it's legitimate. If I were to criticize a policy of the Israeli government, let's say, does that make me anti-Israel, anti-Zionist, anti-Semitic, anti-Jew? No. So I don't know about you, but I wasn't thrilled with the Biden presidency. I do know about you, but we weren't thrilled. But did I stop believing in America? Did I stop loving and supporting America? No. We're not saying you agree with every policy and every governmental leader. That's not what we're saying. And if you do criticize a policy like what you're talking about, where Israel's doing something that isn't right, a good person needs to call out, as a friend, that issue so that they can get on the right track. But you still need to come at that from a framework of love and support of the nation and the concept of the people and the land of Israel. So I think, you might have a favorite sports team, and the team is, you have these commentators commenting on the team, and the commentators are like trashing the team and everything's bad. And you don't want that. You want them to be honest, but you also want them to be supportive of your team, or you're going to change the channel. We need to support not every last thing that Israel does, but we need to support Israel as a nation, as an idea, as a biblical principle. So, yeah, I think we spell that out here. And here's the issue that most people are having with anti-Semitism. They're not speaking truth; they're speaking lies about Israel. So obviously, It's misrepresenting Israel. And I think until people come here, they hear like they're apartheid, or they're committing genocide. Like, that is so far off the wall. And to me, that's anti-Semitic. When you say stuff like that, it's obviously not true. It's provably not true, but people repeat things that are lies about Israel. That's what we're talking about. That's anti-Semitic, anti-Jew, anti-Zion, and anti-Israel.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So we've got, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 minutes left. I'll give you some rapid fire questions, and I don't know if they're quick or not. Your book, Blood Libels Against Jewish People. Can you explain that?
Yeah, so a blood libel is a lie that is told about a people that could eventually lead to violence, and it happens all the time. It's happened, had these pogroms in Russia, in Europe. You had, Hitler. All of these things were a result of blood libels, lies. Jews drink children's blood, and all this just nonsense. And so we have to be really careful never to repeat a blood libel against the Jews.
You talk about the Khazar myth. What is that?
So so here's what people are trying to say. Yeah, God did promise the Jews, but the people here in Israel aren't really Jews. They're really the Khazars, which were Turks that converted to Judaism. And, the European Jews really aren't Jews. So they really don't have the promise to the land. That only came after 1948, because they had to come up with something now that the Jews are back in the land. If that's true, Hitler really screwed up because he tried to kill 6 million Jews. He did kill 6 million Jews, not 6 million people that thought they were Jews but really weren't. So it's a disproven myth, but it's repeated a lot. We need to stop that.
And do Ashkenazi Jews fit in there somewhere? What is that?
Yeah, so that's the group from Europe, and that's who they would say are really Khazars, are the Ashkenazis. But what's really interesting? Israel is made up, the majority of people in Israel are not from European descent. They are from Yemen and Spain and Morocco and Ethiopia and now India. I mean, there's more brown and black in Israel than white. But even so, the Ashkenazi or the Khazar theory is incorrect anyway. But it's kind of disproven by the fact that most Jews are not white European Jews.
And we're kind of just in one section here, but you go through Hitler, the Holocaust, the modern Islamic terrorism against Israel, the Nation of Islam. You've got a minute left. What would you like to say to our viewers? And I hope you'll come back another time because there's so much more.
I would love to. Yeah. So what is the hope for the world? The hope for the world is that God came into humanity through the Jewish people. And he didn't pick them because they were great. He picked, and they weren't actually. A lot of times they were disobedient. There's a lot of times God reprimands them. But at the end of all of those punishments, he says, but I will bring you back, or I will keep you. And that's, we have great promises to Christians. God will never leave us or forsake us. If you put your faith in Jesus Christ, he will save you forever. If God's going to break his promise to Israel, God can break his promise to us. I love believing in a God that doesn't break his promises because I can count on him.
Yes and amen, right? His word is yes and amen. All right, so Pastor Scudder, In Grace Ministries at ingrace.com.
Yeah, ingrace.us is probably the best website to go to, ingrace.us. But if you just Google Ingrace, it'll pop up. And again, it's on Amazon too, the spiritual war against Israel. And I think this is something everybody really needs so we can answer these mistruths and lies.
Thank you for being in Jerusalem right now. And I'm excited you're going to see Ambassador Huckabee. I know you're going to bless him today. I just know.
And I know you know him, and I will say hello to him for you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for joining us today. Pastor Jim Scudder, the book is, will you hold up your book again? It's so pretty.
Yep, it's The Spiritual War Against Israel. And the subtitle is Defending Biblical Zionism and Understanding Israel's Place in God's Prophetic Plan.
It's a beautiful book. Thank you so much for being with us. My thanks to David Smith for helping us find you, Matt Floyd for helping us expedite getting you here, and to all of our viewers, we tell you to live boldly, love better, laugh bigger, be encouraged, but never be complacent.
What if millions are